Well, if I can get started. Thank you for joining me today. It's great to see so many of you here. In addition to the members of the press, I want to especially thank our institutional partners who are here today, without whom we could not have done a lot of what we've done this year and plan to do in the future. They include Intellectual Technology, Inc., ITI, who've developed our new kiosks or self-service stations, Fast Enterprise, who's helped us develop our hardware upgrade and software upgrade, Sevilla. We're going to be talking about their work shortly with upgrading our mailings and communications with our citizens. The Michigan Department of Technology Management and Budget, who make the technology work, and of course the United Auto Workers, who support our hardworking men and women at the branch offices every day. Today I'm here to provide an update on my pledge to get Michiganders in and out of branch offices in 30 minutes or less. This update is going to cover three primary topics. Number one, I want to give you a deep description of the department we inherited when I took office. Second, I'm going to tell you how the work we've done this year achieves our campaign commitment to ensure anyone is able to do business with us in person in 30 minutes or less. And third, I'll explain to you why this is not good enough, and give you an overview of the additional work and changes we need to do within our department to ensure that our delivery of services reflects what Michiganders should expect and the excellent experience they deserve. So as many of you recall, in my first 100 days after taking office, I visited all 131 branch offices. I was the first Secretary of State to do something like this, and what I found was a department that had clearly suffered from years of neglect. Now, don't misunderstand, there were then and continue to be many excellent people working on our team, working their hardest to serve the people of Michigan, but they were working in a structure that was unsustainable and enduring great stress. 46% of branch offices had been closed since the 1980s. 40% of branch positions had been cut since 2001. The technology and data tracking systems that tracked, among other things, wait times were not in sync with each other, effective, or accurate. Staff morale was understandably low given the conditions. In fact, our staff morale was among the lowest of all state agencies. Employees were using leave to stay home, leaving many offices understaffed. Additionally, the staff training program, which included customer service, had been cut in 2006. Many customers were justifiably angry. Sometimes that frustration would lead to violence. Customers were not prepared to do business with us. We estimate that 50% of people coming into our branch offices didn't have to come into a branch office at all and could utilize one of our self-service options. And most salient to me, given my commitment and to meet a metric of ensuring anyone could get in and out in 30 minutes or less, even the inaccurate data tracking systems in place made clear that wait times had doubled under my predecessor, to almost 30 minutes at our less crowded branches in the UP and northern Michigan, to more than 70 minutes on average at our busiest branches. But I want to emphasize that we believe there's more that we can be done, and we're focused now on moving forward. So in the 200 or so days since I visited all the branches, my team has begun executing a plan to significantly improve the way everyone experiences the delivery of services in our department. This focuses on improving customer experience, but necessarily also includes improving staff conditions and morale, rehauling our policies internally, our technology and data systems that govern and support their work, while also ensuring we continue to deliver top-notch service to our citizens. Now, my priority was the 30-minute guarantee I talked about in running for this position. I said then and said again after I visited all the branches in the spring that appointments would be the vehicle through which we would be able to deliver on this promise. And so this summer, we were able to make good on that promise by expanding appointments to every single one of our 131 branches across the state. Now today, there is no wait time for anyone who makes an appointment. We encourage everyone merely to arrive a few minutes early, and they will be seen on time and finished within 30 minutes or less. Now look, I am of course aware that there are still long waits for people who walk into a branch office without an appointment. I do not think for a second that our work is done. In fact, we're just beginning. And much of our work to make customer experience an excellent experience lies ahead. I'm excited about it. I think it will take us to a position where we are a leader nationally in how we deliver services, and that's what I want to elaborate on in a minute. But first, I want to again emphasize and reiterate that right now, anyone can make an appointment and be in and out within 30 minutes of our branch offices. No one needs to wait in line. Customers can make an appointment online, by phone, or by walking into a branch office and requesting one. Regardless of where they live, they can schedule an appointment at any office in this state. And in fact, we recommend that customers look at multiple branches in locations that are convenient for them. We're also encouraging residents to schedule their appointments far in advance. You don't need a renewal mailing or anything from us to book them. They're available 180 days out. And I want to also emphasize that we have not doubled down on even communicating or advertising these appointments as being available to our citizens. Even so, since I took office, we've conducted 500,000 transactions by appointment. So that's 500,000 transactions already done with no wait time at all this year. And what we have planned ahead is for our capacity to increase and the opportunities for those appointments to increase even more in the year ahead. So now I want to turn to the reality that there really is substantially more work that we plan to do to improve our service of delivery, because while implementing these appointments, we've worked on a number of other improvements this year, each of which is a critical component to enabling customers to do business with us in a simple and predictable way. So here are just some of the things that we took on in 2019. One, we replaced the core technology in our system. Now, this is just the first phase of a two-phase plan to replace the technology we need and implement the changes that we will need to ensure the core system can enable our self-service options to work for customers who don't need to come into a branch and speed up transactions within the branch. Right now, it handles vehicle transactions. In the future, the next phase will approach driver's licenses transactions. And note also that that means, because of this two-phase implementation, within our branches, there are two systems in operation right now. Our old one for licenses and our new one for vehicle transactions. We're going to change that in the next few years and make sure it's all on one system, and that process is underway now. And again, I visited all 131 branch offices in my first 100 days, and what this did also was enable me to collect my own data on the ground to see what we need to do to holistically improve our delivery of services within this department. But it also gave me an opportunity to just talk to our staff and listen to them, talk with our customers, be them individuals replacing their license or auto dealers visiting the branch office for the second or third time that week, and hear about their experiences, the myriad of ways the department had changed over the past years, and get their suggestions on what we could do better. So out of that, we use that to inform much of our work and a lot of our changes. And we also implemented a statewide staff survey for the first time ever. We instituted manager surveys, team huddles, as well as other feedback loops to ensure we're learning from trends as people on the front lines experience them. Listening to staff led to some significant institutional fixes. For example, we learned that one of the reasons why transactions were taking a long time were because staff were sharing scanners, resulting in the staff waiting in line in our offices, customers waiting while the staff waited in line, for all of them to use this one scanner to upload documents and other information. So we provided more scanners. I want to reiterate that, I believe it's critical to support staff at their work, and we're committed to working with our employees to find ways to improve morale, identify simple solutions like that to make things go more smoothly, because we know this will also bolster customer experience, and it's just the right thing to do. So this summer, we also worked internally, did not need to contract or add any additional consultants to the table, to expand appointments across the state. I've already talked about that, and I talked about that earlier this summer. I won't elaborate on that more, other than to say that I am immensely proud of the team within the Department of State who internally developed a system that did not cost us anything to implement statewide, and it was a system of making appointments that was better than anything that had been in place before that. It was more efficient, it enabled us to track data, and it enabled us to ensure, again, that every single resident would have an opportunity to make an appointment and get in and out in 30 minutes, regardless of where they lived in this state. And finally, as we announced last month, we started replacing all of the self-service kiosks. There were 93 of them. Over a third of them were not working when I visited them earlier this year for multiple reasons that I can dive into. But in part, we recognized that the machines themselves were hobbled together and ineffective and prone to breaking down. So we began exploring what other states did, and we found that other states had developed a great answer. The new machines that we have similarly developed in partnership with ITI are already getting into place around the state. So far, we've had about 30,000 successful transactions with the new machines. And again, only a third of them are installed. We expect to have all replacements installed next month and expand to even more places in the years ahead, in the months ahead. Also in the year ahead, in 2020, this is what we did in 2019. This is what we've got planned immediately going into 2020. We're going to continue to do the work we need to holistically improve our delivery of services, and we break this work into 3 categories. Number 1, preparing customers to do business with us. Providing them, number 2, with self-service options to save time. And number 3, making sure in the rare times where they do have to come into a branch office that those visits are as smooth as possible. And in that regard, I'm going to quickly give you an overview of what's to come in each category in the following year, with a note that this is what we've got planned for 2020. We've got longer-term plans for 2021 and 2022, but we wanted to, now that we've got this in motion, present this to you today. So in 2020, now again, we're going to put significant effort into informing the public about the many ways they can do business with us and what the costs and benefits are to each option. We want, and frankly, we need your help in doing this. We want Michigan citizens and residents to know that they can make an appointment if they choose to come into a branch, but we also need them to know that they can carry out many transactions by mail, online, or at a self-service station or kiosk. This education is paramount to our customers' ability to make informed choices about how they spend their time. And I was astounded again to find that 50% of people coming into branch offices do not need to come into branch offices to complete their transactions. And part of our solution here is ensuring they don't come in. We remove half of the traffic from our offices just by doing that alone, and by also ensuring that the other options are effective and efficient. Now, pictured here, under preparing to do business, is a draft of our new and simplified renewal mailer. These renewal mailers, as they are today, were not effectively communicating to our residents all the options they have to achieve whatever it is that they need to achieve with our office. And our goal is that within a few months, we're going to be sending out mailers that look like this with clear instructions for Michiganders on their options for doing business with us. We're likely going to send this document out by itself instead of including the unnecessary packet of materials that was included in each mailing that just served to confuse our residents. And we're also going to restructure our website so that it can better prepare people to do business with us. Next, our self-service stations. We began unveiling and testing these self-service stations across the state last month. And right now, the public has 3 primary self-service options. They can go online, they can renew by mail, and do many transactions by mail, or they can visit a self-service station. In 2020, we plan to increase the number of these effective self-service kiosks by 60%, going from the initial 93 that we've currently got to and are replacing to 150 in total. These will not just be in our branch offices, they will be at Kroger's and Meijer's and other locations throughout the state. They will be able to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we are in the process of identifying additional partners who will be willing to host a self-service station like this. So if other institutions are interested in that, please, we hope they reach out to us. Finally, the branch itself, we call sometimes the branch of the future, branch 2.0, but we have significant changes planned for the actual infrastructure of the branch themselves, so that in the infrequent times in which a customer has to come into a branch, that experience is seamless, quick, and enjoyable. Now, part of the goal of preparing customers to do business and expanding self-service options is to reduce, again, the number of transactions that are done in branch offices. And so, as I mentioned, we estimate that about 50% of those transactions can be done outside of branch offices. And as more people realize that they have other options than visiting the branch, which again, we hope the mailers, we intend to effectively communicate that, we expect wait times to decrease for people who forget to make an appointment or walk in on their birthday. But in 2020, we'll also be doing a number of other things to improve the experiences of visiting a branch, including allowing for same-day appointments. Now in 2020, we're going to add a limited number of same-day appointments so that even those who procrastinate will have a way to visit a branch quickly and easily. Also, instituting these same-day appointments will help us make customer traffic more predictable for us, and that will help make work hours predictable for our staff, which is also important to ensuring efficiency in the offices and high morale among our team members. We also recognize, and I saw this firsthand when I visited the offices, there are a number of people who come into our offices that don't need to but have to under the current system. In particular, I'm talking about auto dealers and other commercial clients who have multiple transactions with our branch offices, coming in several times a week, some of them. We want to take them out of branch offices entirely and give them a separate track to do business with the state. Similarly, people doing commercial driver's licenses and testing. I went to an office in Brownstown one Friday and asked why the wait times that were so long that particular day, and was told because a commercial driver's location, training facility down the street graduated all of their drivers that day, and every second Friday of every month they come to this branch office. That's an easy solution to implement, is simply to take testing out of the branches entirely so that those transactions are no longer going to our branch offices, and similarly slowing down wait times for everyone else. We found that all of from our commercial clients to our testing transactions, they can be better served electronically or with partner organizations, and by taking those transactions out of our branch offices, we'll be able to free up branch staff for other customers who have to do business in that branch office. Now finally, as we improve our technology and data tracking systems, we also plan to share more of the data that we have. We recognize, and I've experienced this as frankly a core frustration for me this year, seeing all the incredible work that we're doing internally and having that not necessarily translate externally in communicating with many of our residents and customers. And so one of the reasons why we feel there's been that disconnect is because the technology and data collection in our office has been severely flawed over the past several decades. So what we plan to do is improve our technology and data tracking systems so that we can feel confident that when we talk to you about a wait time in an individual office or an average wait time statewide, we can back up that data and show you exactly where we're getting it, and we can be confident that it is accurate. But in addition to that, our goal is to be transparent about wait times for walk-ins as well as appointments and numerous other metrics so that we can help you inform your readers and our customers themselves decide if and which branch they want to visit, and other information. We call this being radically transparent, so that you have all the information that we have and can understand how we're making the decisions we are making to improve our systems and streamline how we deliver our services. The thing that gives me the most hope in all of this is having studied what other states are doing, working with many of our partners who are here today, and also seeing the really transformative leadership that our COO, Winnie Lau, who's here with us, has brought to the table through her experience in the private sector fixing these types of challenges, is that the solutions are there for our taking. And you're going to see next year, as we start to implement the solutions I've talked about today, not only significantly less traffic in our branch offices, significant more efficiency in how the appointments are utilized, but we hope happier citizens and happier employees that will recognize not only that we continue to do everything we can to innovatively serve and deliver services to our residents and support our staff, but also find new ways consistently to innovate and develop solutions to address issues as they emerge. Linked to that, I want to add that we plan to do more in 2021 and beyond, and that next year, early next year, we're going to be announcing a robust legislative agenda to improve customer experience where we need legislative changes to be able to do so. The changes I've announced today are ones that we are able to do within our current authority and within our office internally, and frankly within our current budget. But in addition to that, there are other changes that we are going to seek that will help even add to these improvements and get us to a point where we're far beyond the 30-minute guarantee to a place where we have done a complete overhaul and significantly modernized our delivery of state services for all of our residents. Now, I want to thank you again for being here and again reemphasize that we know we have a long way to go to deliver the experience our customers deserve and create the type of work environment that our hardworking employees also deserve. But I'm truly grateful to all of our partners and staff for the great work we've already done this year. And again, particularly to Winnie Lau, our COO, and also Jake Rollo, our communications director, who are here to field questions and get back to you should we run out of time. And so with that, I'm happy to take questions. And again, I appreciate all of your time today and all of you being here. I'm sorry? A number of different innovations that we're unable to implement ourselves without legislative changes, and we'll be announcing that in early next year.
Just to be clear, do you consider the 30-minute guarantee guaranteed at this point, and will you be striving for 30-minute guarantee for people who just walk in?
We consider that the 30-minute guarantee is achieved because any citizen or resident in this state can now can now make an appointment and get in and out of a branch office within 30 minutes. But what we've seen in working to implement that guarantee over the past year is that there are a number of other significant changes that we need to make, a lot of which I've outlined today, to really just rethink and restructure how we're delivering state services in general. And I say that to say, you know, I could have just come in and just thrown money at this and say we're going to hire more people and open more branch offices. But that is a short-term solution because the way in which services are being delivered across many industries is not through brick-and-mortar offices and people walking in and waiting in line. It's a failed model, and it's an antiquated model of doing business. So what we're here to say is, yes, you can get in and out of a branch office in 30 minutes today if you make an appointment ahead of time. But we want to move beyond that now. And we want to move to a more holistic overhaul of how we deliver services in general, so that for the vast majority of people who don't even need to go to a branch office, they're not going to a branch office. And we change the entire approach to how our residents are interacting with our office to implement more innovative and modern techniques.
Are you making any effort to people who don't have access to the internet easily, who may not have broadband or cell service at their home?
Yeah, the self-service stations ensure, and they ensure that you can, in part, if you don't have access to the internet, take advantage of those same services through going to a self-service kiosk. I'll also mention the reason why these new kiosks also address that issue is in talking, I spoke with many residents and visiting branch offices who could do things online. Some of them I took over to kiosks and just worked them through the process, and it was actually a lot of fun, actually, because we could do it really quickly. But some said, look, I don't have a credit card, or I don't have a cell phone, so I can't get in line online, or I can't get a line remotely, or some spoke English as a second language. So these new kiosks accept cash. They provide services in Spanish and Arabic. So we're also recognizing that that the disconnect that some residents experience go beyond just broadband disconnect into other things as well. And we intend for these expanded self-service options to address that.
With the expansion of the appointments across the state, have you guys looked at how that is affecting kind of the walk-in waiting time?
We found two things. One, it enables us to plan ahead, to know exactly when people are coming in and for what reason, and it reduces what often happens is the return pass, where someone comes in, doesn't have the documents, has to come back and return. So it actually takes a lot of the inefficiencies out of the line by taking many people who would have walked in and giving them a more streamlined experience. But we're recognizing again that the challenges facing the walk-in experience are not as much related to appointments as they are to the fact that, one, everyone's just coming in and funneling into one line, many of which we can take out of the branch office entirely. And then also there are varying transactions. Some take 45 minutes, some take less than 2 minutes, yet everyone is funneled into the same line. And so that, to me, is a bigger reason why we're seeing challenges with streamlining the walk-in experience. Yeah, two things. One, that's why same-day appointments beginning next year are going to be important. So when people do walk in and say, I don't have, and I didn't plan ahead, and even though I got this mailing a month ago, et cetera, that's why same-day appointments are going to be important there. And then secondly, communicating with people ahead of time that they may not even have to go into a branch office at all is going to be important too. So that even in that scenario where we could give someone a same-day appointment, the goal, frankly, is to make sure that if someone doesn't have to come into a branch office at all, that they don't, and they know that, and they don't. And so, and again, when you think of just the universe of people in a branch office, you have people who've made appointments, and then you have a select other people who are just sort of in one pot. Many of those are dealers, commercial clients who we can take out. Many of those are there for a driver's test. We can take them out. And then about 50% of them, or half remaining, don't have to be there at all. And so and then those who remain, we want to, again, triage once they come into an office with a greeter who can say, go over here if you need this transaction, go over here if you need a longer transaction. So that's how we want to deeply overhaul the branch experience entirely. And that is going to take some time, but we've already begun that process. And we'll be prototyping out some new structured branches next year, where you'll get to see just even how physically the branches are going to look very different to enable that type of experience when someone comes in. Yes, we have, because our system is able to do that. I'll defer to Winnie and Jake on any specifics on the data, because they've been in the front lines of that. But essentially, we've been able to find that people are seen right away if they come in and say, I have an appointment. And again, it's about customer education, so that, you know, we've heard a few anecdotes where people come in with an appointment and don't realize that they don't have to wait in line. But for the most part, as soon as someone comes in, they'll see a screen with their name and their appointment time, and they'll be called up.
But like for somebody who wants to schedule an appointment, I've heard from a couple of people that I'm able to get in once I have an appointment, but to get an appointment scheduled.
Yes, yeah, and that's one of the, I mean, right now, we know we've handled half a million appointments this year, and we're able to handle 4,000 a day, is that right? Across the state. And so expanding that capacity is key. The same-day appointment option parallel to that is going to be important, too, because we do want to capture people who are coming in. And again, removing people essentially from the queue by saying you don't have to come into a branch office is going to be an important part of that. And all of those changes collectively will also help us expand the number of appointments we're able to handle per day. So all of that is in process, and as we collect data to identify where the highest appointment requests are coming from, which we also, that enables us to say, well, the Troy office, the Livonia office, maybe we double the appointments there, and maybe we reduce some of the appointments in other offices because they're not needed. So that all of that data is going to help us make those informed decisions, and we're also in the process of developing ways to just track transaction times themselves. Once someone comes in, has an appointment, how long does that transaction take for one employee versus another? And that's, again, where we get back to just that transparency with data that we want to continue to share with all of you now that we can start to feel more confident in its accuracy, that you'll be able to also understand what we're seeing and how we're allocating resources accordingly. Okay. Our 30-minute guarantee applies to every citizen and resident throughout the state who makes an appointment and is able to get in and out in under 30 minutes. In our view, the 30-minute guarantee is available to every resident in the state, and that's what I campaign on, and it's available through appointments. So and then again, to go back, for the walk-in experience, we want to significantly decrease the need for people to walk in, because that's the challenge, that's the problem. So the same-day appointments for people who show up are a piece of that.
For people who have not gotten the real ID, does that require an in-person?
It does.
In-person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there only services that are exclusively operate in person?
There are appointments for every service that we offer in a branch office. The Real ID is going to be the most significant one this year because of the deadline in October. I am proud that, neighboring states, and I'll defer to our data experts on the specifics, but neighboring states are at 3 or 5% preparation. We are at over 50%, I know that, of residents who have a Real ID. I'm sorry? 42%, so close to 50%. So we're seeing a lot of effectiveness there, and I have tried to find ways in which we could take those Real ID transactions out of our branch offices, but in the short term, with all the federal requirements, we can't.
Redesigning branches, buying a kiosk, I know it all takes money. Do you have the money for all of this, or are you hoping to get more funding for this moving forward?
Yes and yes. We're working internally to ensure that we are whether it's through cost avoidance or renegotiating old contracts or finding new partners or just doing things internally, that we're able to save money and reallocate that towards some of these modern efficiencies. But in addition to that, we do want to we do need partners in the legislature to help support, in particular, improving our commercial client experience. So we have plans to request $9 million from the legislature to help robustly increase the way we're able to serve our commercial clients. Those are people who have fleets of vehicles, auto dealers, people who have repeated transactions with our office. We want to enable them to do more things internally as opposed to having to come to us at all, and that's going to cost, that will require, in order for us to be fully effective, more investment from the legislature.
On a different topic, there was a lawsuit filed Tuesday with citizens' rights about the toll rules. In a belief that there were dead people basically on toll rules still. Is that a concern of yours or something that you would at all be involved in?
Well, I do want to keep us focused on the customer service experience, but I will say that's one of the reasons why, one, that making sure our voter registration lists are accurate is very important to us, and that's why I joined the Electronic Registration Information Center in my first week in office. That enables us to share data with the federal government, with post office, with other states, to ensure as we find people who shouldn't be on the rolls for whatever reason, we're able to verify that and remove them. So high priority, and we can, I haven't seen this particular suit, but we can look into that and get back to you, and Jake can help with that. So thank you again. I really appreciate all of you being here today. And again, this is to be continued. We've got a lot more work to do, but we want to emphasize that we've got plans in place to get to a place where we have completely overhauled how citizens and residents do business with our office, and you can expect a very different experience in the months and years to come for all of our residents, beginning with the appointments that are available to everyone today, and more that is in the works. So thanks.